right. Good morning, everybody. I am Danielle McCormick. I am the host of the SuiteSpark podcast, and I've got my co-inspirer here, Miss Katie Levins. She's amazing. She's my best friend, and we are business consultants, have been in business for many years now, and we are helping a lot of business owners to grow their businesses, unscrew up their businesses, and helping young professionals to reach their goals, their dreams, where they're trying to go by just giving real, no BS advice on what to do, what not to do, and how you can continue to grow in your career without having to be a yes man and just have to kiss ass, because we don't do that. We don't do that at all. Not here.
Definitely not necessary.
No, definitely not necessary, and definitely not what we are about. So today we're talking about quiet quitting and this whole phenomenon of quiet quitting. And I personally think that quiet quitting is, we're going to go all puns here, is the silent way to sabotage your career. We've recently put out a blog on this very subject that goes a whole lot more in depth, but wanted to talk about it here with y'all because this is taking over the internet. There's a lot of people that are out there talking about what is quiet quitting and should I be doing it and all of that. And quiet quitting is absolutely not what you should be doing. Not when we're coming into a recession, not when we are, especially being on the growth train, being those goal getters and going to be people that are going to be advancing in our career fields. So, Miss Katie, in your words, ma'am, what is quiet quitting?
Quiet quitting is doing the very least. You're a 9 to 5. You're going to do your job title and that only, no more, no less. You walk out the door, you're done for the day. You're not thinking about it, touching it again. Just absolutely not trying to overachieve by any means. You're basically just existing. You're just trying to maintain and hold on to the job that you have without trying to excel. It's one of those, I'm going to meet my bare minimum expectation and not put forth any extra effort.
Right. And I think that that's where it feels like this very like damn the man type way of like, well, I'm not going to do anything extra that I'm not paid to do. But in so many arenas, like that just doesn't work. That's not how you can behave in your business. That's not how you can ever expect to grow. I love when people are just going to do the bare minimum 9 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever your job work hours are, and then expect that they should get a raise. Like, what the hell have you done? What did you do for the business? What did you do to move us forward? Absolutely zero. Like, you may have held onto your job. Okay, thanks for being a butt in seat, but that doesn't actually help us move forward. And so then people are like, well, I need a raise to keep pace with inflation. Well, maybe you should do some work that would keep pace with, like, help the business keep pace with what's going on economically, and be able to move their whole, move everything forward. Now, I will say, I understand there is some, there's a lot of this is a product of bad management. And a lot of folks just feel like, well, I'm not getting the opportunities I need. I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting the money that I want. And I definitely can understand that. I've been in places like that. I've been in places where I've been passed over for promotion. And rather than backing down, I think that that's the time where you can just be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to put a good mindset on. I'm going to do everything that I can in this role. And I'm going to learn as much as I can to go on to the next place.
You have to absolutely filter forth.
Yeah.
You got to make things for you. You got to make your own way for yourself, and not rely on others to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that then this also kind of lends itself to, there's another, like, I guess, internet phenomenon going on with quiet firing, which I guess kind of is like what I just said, is where you are like passed over. They're not going to get rid of you, but they're not going to help you advance. They're not going to let, they kind of like put baby in a corner, and you're not actually able to do much. You don't have a lot of room. A lot of those folks tend to think that, well, okay, I probably need to go find another job, or, just politely piss off. And I don't know that necessarily we need to be worried so much about quiet firing, quiet quitting, all that type of stuff. I know that so many people are trying to adjust to all of this all the symptoms really left over from COVID. And now like 30% or some crazy number of people are working permanently from home. And so where you used to be able to pass the time in your shitty job at like, I'm going to go to long lunches, I'm going to walk around and talk to my friends. And then I might sit down and do, you know, what's like the Office Space, do like 15 minutes of real actual work type of thing. And then now everybody's at home and all you have are your like obnoxious tasks and no friends to keep you company. And I know that a lot of people are really starting to feel the burnout of that. Exactly. No water cooler banter, no fish in the microwave, you know, no office violations of any kind. But yeah, like, and people are feeling that burnout. And I think that's where this whole like quiet quitting piece comes in, is that people are like, oh, well, to combat burnout from your shitty job, then you should just quietly quit and just don't do anything extra and don't do anything that people want you to do of above and beyond and blah, blah, blah. But I think that it's attacking really the wrong thing in a lot of ways, because to me, burnout comes not from whether you love your job or not. I mean, yes, it kind of does, but it's not necessarily a matter of like being overworked. Sometimes people, yes, you can be like burning the candle at both ends. I get that. But a lot of times your burnout comes from just a total lack of purpose. Like, are you in a job that doesn't fulfill you? There's a lot of people that take jobs that are like, yeah, it pays the bills. I kind of hate it. Well, yeah, no matter what you're doing, whether it's 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 8, you know, whatever, you're going to feel burned out because it's just not what you're on fire for. And so I feel like this is more a time, rather than saying like, I'm going to set these boundaries as a means of like self-preservation or whatever it's supposed to mean, is that like, why are you burned out? Like, I feel like people really need to reflect on, why are you burned out? Is it a lack of overall purpose? Is it, you know, like, what are you missing? And I know that also in jobs, like, you can get a lot of, I feel like there's burnout in two ways. Like, you either get burned out because you have a lack of purpose and you're doing a job that's not aligned with where your dreams, passions, goals, all that are, or you're in a role where you're constantly having to fight to do your job. And where you have stupid processes and there's like bullshit red tape and there's like all this type of stuff that's just making it so difficult to get your job done. I can definitely see that that is a way that you would be burned out. Also, it happens a lot in big bureaucracy type places, and bureaucracy isn't even just like government or whatever. It's just any of those 800-pound gorilla type companies that have a frozen middle, that have, you know, a management layer that's not really willing to move or do much because they're trying to rice bowl and protect what they've got. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see where there's burnout all around, but quitting is never the answer, I guess. Is spoiler alert. That's like what all of this is about. That's is that where we're going. Quitting is never the answer. Yeah, exactly. Quitting's not the answer. But I think also like any time that you're in a place where you would want to have this like quiet quitting, like damn the man, I'm not going to do anything else type of thing, is usually that's where a target rich environment is available. Like that's usually where there's bad management. There's going to be bad processes. There's going to be stupid systems. There's going to be outdated stuff. There's going to be a whole host of interesting things that you can go forward and fix, that you can take on your own, that you can make your own pet project, passion project, whatever you want to call it, and something to pad your resume, something that you can own end to end on your all by yourself, and can then tell that story to the next employer of, I took it on myself. I made sure that I had all of the, I had the wherewithal, first of all, to identify the problem, got the buy-in from the people around me, got partners to help me on this. We did this solve, and so on. Like that was one thing that I really loved when I worked at, used to work for a large clothing retailer. I don't know if I can say their name. I think I can. Gap. I used to work for Gap. The side of and one of the things, yeah, exactly. Like, can I say this? I'm only going to say good things. We'll never badmouth an employer. But I used to work for Gap. And one of the best things that I thought they had was on their intranet, it was all about like my next job. At least, I mean, it was 10 years ago, so who knows? But if they still have it. But it was all about my next job. And it was like, yeah, you have your job. As long as you're not an idiot, you don't screw it up, like you get to keep your job. right? But where are you wanting to go? What do you want to be when you grow up, type of thing? And so then you and your manager would work together to figure out, okay, if you're here and you want to move over to software, or if you're software and you want to move over to design, or, whatever that movement pattern is that you're wanting to make, you start to work with your employer to figure out what those things are that you can do to put in place and how it is that you can move forward toward my next job. So I think that you can actually kind of take that on your own. Like, yes, there's a lot of places where you're not going to have that person, right? You're not going to have that super uber supportive boss, or you wouldn't be looking to leave or quiet quit, right? You wouldn't even be reading articles like, what is quiet quitting and should I be doing it? You would just be charging forward, rocking it out, crushing it like you're supposed to. But for those that don't have that positive management experience, you can take this on your own and figure out, okay, what skills do I need? I'll just take my own, experience. If you're a program manager and you're trying to get to a management role, well, you would have to have managed projects, or at least be able to tell the story as to why you would be a good manager, why you would be a good fit as a leader to a team. So the only way that you can gain that experience, if you're being passed over for a position, is to go above and beyond. Rather than quietly sit back and be like, ugh, I've been passed over, then I'm just going to, sit here and muddle and wait till the economy gets better, whatever that means, and hope that you can get into a better role. I think that this is one of those times that you actually look for extra work, look for teams that need help, look for problems that are occurring in your environment so that you're able to harvest those skills. And more importantly, and we'll do a whole segment on this in the coming weeks, but more importantly is you need to be able to tell the story as to why you deserve that next role. And you're only going to be able to tell that story, like every story, we want the details, right? Your next hiring manager is going to want those details. What the hell did you do? Why should I pay you this money? But I think when you do it right, when you do lean into it, when you don't sit back and be like, oh, well, blah, blah, and piss and moan about how you've been passed over, I think that you can actually really make that advantageous for yourself and harvest that story to get the bigger dollar. And really a lot of this is I think you can come out of this, at least in my own story, but I've seen a lot of folks, and even in the career coaching that I do, is bring those skills along. Just because you're in one role for a long time doesn't mean that you don't have the skills to move elsewhere, because you can prove that you fit there with the story, with the details, with the accolades and accomplishments, and especially the metrics. You got to be able to say, like, I took this from 10% to 30%. I 2x'd whatever. I've obviously done a lot of talking on this. I get on a roll. I get excited. I get passionate about people not sitting on their laurels and, hoping for the best, that somebody should just hand them things, because I do firmly think that there's people that do shit and there's people that don't do shit. So definitely wanting folks to take this time while their coworkers are doing like fuck all at work. You can actually take this, look at those problems, make them your own, get solves in there. Not only does it make you more valuable in a recession type environment, which we're going into. I mean, we all need to have eyes wide open, knowing where we're going. If you've been around for any time in the career field, you know that no one is safe when you start going into a recession. I know that me as a consultant in my past, that we're the first to get cut. Like, we get schwacked real fast. We're first to hire when money is good and first to fire when money is bad. Like, it's just the way of the business. So the only way to make yourself invaluable is to be, or to make yourself secure, I should say, is to be invaluable.
Absolutely. And the only way you can do that is by putting more tools in your toolbox. And if you're not willing to step out and to go the extra mile, then when it comes time for evaluation, do I keep A or B? Well, let's see who's willing to do more and be a little bit more ambitious and get more done. Not saying that you have to sacrifice life and limb to better yourself, but everybody should want to do better. Everybody should want to do more. Perfect example. I was talking to a family member the other day, and her close friend she's a young kid, and she is a manager at a fast food chain. their assistant general manager is moving on. And so they approached her and said, hey, what do you think about taking this position? And she was like, well, what's the benefit? And they're like, well, it's a salary, which is a healthy increase.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, it's salary. I won't get any overtime. I'd have to work more than 50 hours a week. And I already see how much he works and it's just not worth it. And I'm like, you're not willing to double your, and I'm like, it's a resume builder. And she was like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, we had a catering order to go the other week. And, we had 200 burgers that had to be done and we only had 60 done, but I got the rest of them cranked out in 30 minutes. That's a resume builder. And I'm like, pretty sure that's not quite the same. I don't think you understand or are grasping, but it's a prime opportunity, a prime example that people want to do the bare minimum. They don't want to put in the extra work. And 9 times out of 10, it's at their own detriment.
Exactly.
And that's the part that's frustrating.
Well, and also not even realizing the opportunities that are coming to you. There's so many people that are like, well, like you said, like, I want this other opportunity. Well, what about the one that's staring you right in the face? It may not be beautiful, but you can turn that, just like, any news outlet, right? Turns it into whatever the hell they want it to say and what they want it to be. Right. Like, you too can put the spin on whatever you need to. Just take that opportunity that's in front of you. Because what are you going to do? Crank out 30 burgers and hope that that's the story you can tell?
Right.
Like, cool, you're great under pressure. Like, I should hire you for my next catering event. But obviously, if you're somebody that wants to move into management, things like that, you're not going to be able to pick and choose. People do swear that, like, oh, it should be fair, it should be easy, it should be this. Bullshit. No.
Life ain't fair. How often are we taught that? Well, like we've talked about before, is that life's not fair. We preach to our kids all the time, life's not fair. But then as adults, we're like, oh, God, this isn't fair. I don't want to do an extra 45 minutes worth of work.
Right.
We're
just overgrown children whining about the same thing.
Exactly. But now where we had parents telling us what to do, or we're telling our kids what to do. We're looking for somebody to tell us what to do instead of a little bit of self-reflection and saying, I'm now the one that needs to be told life's not fair. The work balance at work isn't always fair. Sometimes you're going to have more on your plate than your peers, but you know what? Knock it out, earn your keep. It is what you make it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, and then, that's the thing is people are like, well, I'm not doing something I'm not being paid for. You may not be paid for it right now. That's, I think, the biggest fallacy of all of this is that people are saying, well, I'm not being paid for it right now. Correct. You're right. Full stop. You are correct. However, you will be paid handsomely for it later. So do it now. Build up the experience now so it's irrefutable as to why you should deserve that salary and why you should deserve that job, because you've already done it. Absolutely. When I in the blog, we talk about, like, they go a little bit further into at least my story. And I was working over 100 hours a week, taking on a pet project I was actually told not to do, expressly told not to do. But I thought it was A, too important, and B, honestly, too valuable. Like, I truly saw the opportunity in it for me, for myself, to be like, if I can solve this big ass hairy problem, then that is a huge feather in my cap. That makes me super valuable in the job market, and no one else can have that story but me.
Right.
And I think that I wasn't paid for. I used to joke. I was like, I am the lowest paid project manager because I am working so many hours. But then I went to my next job and quite literally doubled my salary. Because I could tell the story of how end to end I owned it, I ran it, I fixed it, I solved it. I knew exactly what it was I could tell you every single detail, metric, everything. But you can't fake your way through that. There's a lot of people that can blow about a lot of bullshit at a job interview, and then you get 6 months in and realize, like, did we do a bad hire? Was this not our best?
Think about how many people sit and, like, if people took all of the time and energy they spent bitching and mully grubbing about the monotony or the X, Y, and Z or this pathetic process, and it's ridiculous. If they took that energy and effort and just reformed the process, or, you know what I mean? Repurpose, recreate, build something. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you can improve it. You know what I mean? You start to get a flat, you put air in it. So fix it. You know what? If you see a problem, if you identify a problem, it's not only going to benefit you, it'll benefit your peers. Your supervisor will probably be super happy as well. Morale will start it just dominoes. Like, things really just kind of start to snowball. And then,
in a good way,
like you've said, it's a feather in your cap. Absolutely. And then you're on the map and people are like, well, where did this come from? This is fantastic. Well, Susie Q got off her butt and did something and made it better for everybody.
Exactly.
Exactly. You can reap the benefits of that later.
Well, and I mean, it helps, like we're saying, like be a go-getter, but in some ways it helps to be a lazy go-getter, because if it's a lazy person, I've got a guy on my team that he's great, but he's also like, I just try the laziest, most efficient way to do something so it saves me time. Great. I'm going to give you all the crappy processes or all the things that we need to figure out a better way to do, because I know that you're going to find the way that takes the least amount of time.
Well, there's a really funny story about that, kind of a sidebar. So there's an adage that's like, you want to find the easiest, most efficient way to do something, you give it to the laziest person on the team, because what do they want to do? Find the easiest. So there was this manufacturer, I think it was toothpaste. It was years ago that they discovered that so many empty toothpaste boxes were being shipped out. Mm-hmm. So they spent all this money on conveyor belts and weighing the boxes to make sure every box actually had a tube of toothpaste in it. Well, the machine apparently was loud and funky because the factory worker, these guys come in to do an inspection, see how their equipment's doing, and none of the equipment was running. And they're like, what are you doing? We just spent all this money. And he was like, it was way too loud. I couldn't stand it. He turned on an oscillating fan and parked it right in front of the conveyor belt, and it would blow all the empty boxes off. You know what I mean? So instead of having to listen to the grinding of the machine and, all the beeping of the scales and everything, he was like, forget it. Screw this. Nope. Like, bring my little fan out here. I got fresh air blowing in my face, and I'm watching all the boxes blow away, and I know what's going to waste and what's not. Like, so I mean, that's a perfect example. You just give the problem to maybe instead of saying laziest, the most efficient.
Most efficient. There we go. It's all about the spin. It's all about the story.
That's right. Yeah, but ultimately I was like, that makes perfect sense. Kudos to him. But I mean, that poor had some of the folks in the suite had the mindset to be like, hey, let's talk to the people on the floor and see what opportunities and suggestions they have to offer. I mean, they could have saved tons of money.
Yes. Well, and especially if you're a lower level manager that is trying to move up, that is one of the best things you can do, not only for the morale of your entire team, but for all my Lean Six Sigma nerds out there, like go to the Gemba, like exactly what you're saying, go to the factory floor, go to the front line, go to the counter, whatever that front line looks like in your role. Go there and see what problems are happening. Make it more efficient. Make it better for them. I promise you'll make friends, because if you actually give two craps about what it is that is making their life hard, then you will make an impact, and a positive impact. And especially yes, there's people that have done cost savings, There is a whole lot more money to be made if you are helping revenue, if you are helping output, if you are doing things to make it more efficient and better for the workers, and especially if you're doing things to be better for the workers, all of the workers are going to be happier. Happy workers work harder. And like you said, it snowballs and makes it to where everybody wants to jump in and be a part of it, rather than pissing and moaning about how much it sucks and how this process, blah, 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 blah. And it just devolves from there.
Human nature. And human nature, people want to accomplish things, and they want to be a part of something good, and they want that feel good of either checking the box or the high five. You made things so much easier too. So, I mean, if you want to be selfish about it, be like, what can I do to make my life better so that I'll feel better about being here? But ultimately you're still going to help people. And it's still going to, and just make it about you. What can I do to make my name known that I'm a go-getter? I'm going to get this done.
Yes.
And then so whenever a position rolls around, who do you know anybody? Heck yeah, I do. She's always on the ball. She streamlined these processes without having to be asked. If we need her, she's willing to jump in. It's like I said, it's not to say that you have to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
right?
But you don't just stay so rigid within your 9 to 5 and my 6 points of my job description only. I mean, that's where other duties as assigned kind of fall in. And so many people have strayed from that. They're like, not my job.
Not my job. Yeah. But like the not my area, not my job, not my problem is it's a huge detriment. And like you said, I mean, if people want to be selfish about the whole, because I think quiet quitting is extremely selfish. I think it's stupid because not only is it selfish to your company, and people be like, well, I'm selfish about my time. Good for you. But why don't you be selfish about your salary? Why don't you be selfish about garnering all the skills that you can? Why don't you be the ball hog, and give the elbows to the people that are going to try to beat you out? And rather than playing the political game, make it, again, irrefutable with evidence, with points, with, points of interest. not political points. Yes, everybody has to play the political game. I suck at it. But you do have to play it at some point. It's way overrated. But I mean, you can also get around the political game if you happen to not be that great at it, like me, by just outperforming everybody else. Like, be the person that gets shit done. Be the person that's known as unmatched effort. Be the person that will, keep moving even when stuff sucks. And won't just be a weight. Because I feel like we have also gotten away from like not firing people like that.
Well, then absolutely. And the woe is me mentality is it's tired. It's exhausting. Like this whole like, oh, I'm so overworked or I'm so tired or, I bring my home bullshit into work. Nobody wants to hear it. And sorry about your bad luck. It sucks. But ultimately in the workplace, nobody cares, not to say that as a human on a human level. Yes, I know you, Danielle. I care. I'm sorry you're going through some stuff, but we still have a deadline. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, there's a way to handle it and still be a human about it. But on the business, like if you take and you just have the business on the paper and you're just talking about business, I'm sorry you're going through it, but I don't care. We have a deadline we have to hit, which may sound insensitive, but there's a balance to it.
Well, and like we talk about all the time that like everything you want is on the other side of work. And if you're bringing your home bullshit into the workplace, you're likely to be on the first list to get schwacked when things are tight or we have to move people or whatever. And you won't be quietly fired. You will be loudly fired. Yes. And then, think about how that divorce or how that death in the family or how that whatever that really tough time is. Yes, they all suck. We've all been through them. They are horrible. They do make it tough to concentrate at work. However, they will be exponentially worse if you now have money troubles on top of it because you got fired because you couldn't figure out how to focus.
Exactly. And absolutely. And it's one of those things too, like everybody's going to go through trials and tribulations with life. And it's like I said, it's not to say that you can't be a human and be like, forgive me, I'm going through this, but I'm still going to put my nose to the grindstone and try to get my job done. I'm not, I don't want us to come across as insensitive because we definitely understand. Like there is still a level of compassion and empathy there. But if you can't be in your chair and perform your job function, then take the time, heal and recover a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like get your hat on, do what you got to do, put your pump up song on the way to work, or, you got to get in your mind space, put it in the box while you're at work and put it on the shelf for a little bit and then unpackage it when you leave. But if at the end of the day, if you're wanting to do better and get somewhere else, you've got to be able to kind of compartmentalize sometimes too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that we don't necessarily talk about a lot. And I know this is kind of going off, but we're going to talk more about this in like another episode, but bringing your whole self to work is great. Bring your authentic self to work is great. Yes, be you. Don't feel like you have to be a yes man. Don't feel like you have to conform and all that kind of stuff. However, don't feel like that means it's just open door to bring all your baggage and bullshit with you to bring drama. Like that's not what authenticity means at all. So I would say people can quietly quit that.
Yes.
Quietly quit bringing your crap to work.
And thank you.
Yes, please and thanks. The management and everybody else around you. But yeah, my whole thing on quietly quitting is it's spreading negativity under the guy. I guess that's where my biggest issue with all of it is it's spreading negativity and greenlighting lazy when under the guise of protection or not being overworked or not being taken advantage of or any of that. And I think it's just such a bad message. And it rates right up there with just a lot of things that I feel that all professionals, not just young professionals, but all professionals are being told in the workplace, much like, women throwing around like they have to act like men at work. No, you can be a powerhouse and not be a bitch. Like you can get things done and you can have boundaries and not quietly quit or be lazy. Like you can do all these things and it's not one or the other. And it's a very shortage, scarcity type mentality when opportunity literally abounds. There's absolutely opportunity everywhere, whether it's broken systems and processes and things like that, to being able to level up and go to a new place, a new job, a new whatever. And it also is such a limiting factor in like saying that you're stagnant. You know, like you should quietly quit because they're not going to pay you here, or you should quietly quit because they're overworking you right here. It's giving people the illusion that you don't have any movement or any choices. So the only way to preserve yourself and the only way to like make it work is to do the bare minimum and not contribute much at all. And I think that that's just
really
a really bad message.
It's an awful message. And I think you touched on it earlier too, that at the root of it, a lot of it's often just self-reflection. You know what I mean? Like you've talked about too, you know, there are places that morale's awful or this, that, and the other, but really at the end of the day too, you've got to reflect, is this something that you're going to put more into what you care about too? It's that old adage that's, you know, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. So
absolutely.
I mean, find a way to make it great. You know, it's all about a mindset. It's a positive spin and a positive attitude, and quiet quitting will not get you anywhere but out the door faster. Not always on to bigger and better either.
Well, and like you said, 100%. I'm glad you just said that. Is it won't take you on to bigger and better, and the whole Great Resignation and all of that that's going on right now is clear evidence of that. Great Resignation is working for people with choices. It's not working for people that don't have the story to say where they need to go. It's not working for people that don't have a long list of accolades that can just pick wherever they want to go and not have, you know, whether they want to work from home or want to work from office or whatever. You don't have those choices until you've put the time in and you've been able to grind and you've been able to come up with some type of value for yourself. Otherwise, there are a lot of people out here that have either want to quit or have quit, swearing that they're going to go find greener pastures, but they're not actually able to do that because they have not put that in, have not put the time in, have not put the effort, you know, whatever that ingredient is, to create their value. And your middle of the road employees are the ones that are suffering the most from the illusion of this quiet quitting, Great Resignation, greener pastures, all this type of like narrative bullshit, because they can't actually land that perfect post-pandemic job because they don't have anything to show for it.
Right. It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And it's also exhausting trying to tell people, like, move your ass. That is how you succeed. Like nobody cares, work harder. Like, but really, nobody cares, work harder. You know, like that's all that's going to get there.
Well, and you really have to hustle now to reap the reward and enjoy life later. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying don't take the time to enjoy what you're doing now, but if you ultimately want, everybody has a goal. If you want to get to that goal, 9 times out of 10, the way you get there is by hustling. Like, you don't ever see anybody sitting on their ass, not doing a damn thing, excel and just skyrocket.
Becoming independently wealthy and someone that you would idol. Like, no, that's not.
You got to get in. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to sweat a little bit. Those are the grindstone. It's not always fun, but you can make it fun. Again, it's the attitude. It's the mentality. You know, you just got to think about, what am I going to get to on the other side of my work?
Well, and I actually I cannot remember where I saw this, for the life of me, cannot remember. But I remember they were saying that like your 20s are for getting as many like certifications, as much education, as much like kind of things on paper, if you will, as possible. And then your 30s are for getting as many skills, like as many life skills, just packing it in the bag. Like as many things as you can get. And then working in your 40s, because you've done those things in your 20s and 30s, your 40s are for making money. Like go out there and just make bank and enjoy it. You know, like enjoy, obviously you're wanting to enjoy the process the entire way, but that was actually something that I was told actually really early on. And again, for the life of me, can't remember. Maybe it was my dad. Maybe it was a book. I don't remember. But like, that was just kind of one of those things that every time that I got to a kind of a tough spot, that it was thinking, okay, I want to take this project on because it's going to help me, you know, put more feathers in my cap, more value, more varied skills that I can take elsewhere. I don't know where they're going to lead me, but if I have them in my toolkit, then I can employ them later. And I could not begin to tell you how many the varied businesses that I've worked in, the varied capacities that I've worked in, the, being on all sides of the business. Now that makes me such a well-rounded business engineer. And I'm working with some businesses, recalling on things that you and I did at the police department, working on things that I'm recalling skills that I gained from Gap, and, just so on, that I never thought would crop up ever again. Thought that was like old news, but now it's things that are actually relevant. And I just feel like when, like the fast food restaurant, if you're not going to take what's in front of you, you may not know where that leads you later. It may not be the most beautiful thing. It may not be what you absolutely want to do, but it's being served into your world for a reason. And I'm one of those that everything happens for a reason type of people. And I think you have to grab hold of what's put in front of you because it's there for the taking and it's there for a reason.
Almost certainly. And then too, you had a buzzword when you mentioned the police department. One of the greatest lessons I learned from working at the police department is the very extreme difference between theory and application. Like that will make or break any situation. Yes. And so just even, right? So even talking about this burger joint situation, in theory, she thinks she's not going to take this opportunity because she's going to have to work more than 50 hours a week. And she's, her life's going to be spent at this place. Well, in theory, yeah. But in application, if you get in there and you streamline processes within 6-8 weeks and you clean up what might be a mess because he was so scrambled and scatterbrained or just didn't have the skill set to organize and structure and process. If she would just take the opportunity to apply what she knows, then it could be a skate gig and things could be, you know what I mean? And then it could open up a plethora of opportunities and doors too, as well as being a resume builder, not meeting a quota of burgers in 2 hours. Like I just wanted to shake her. It just drove me bananas. I was like, just stop and let's talk and let's think about it for a minute.
Yes. I have a really good friend and same thing. Like the company wants her to take on this big new account. They want her to, take on all these other things, but is also like, I'm sorry, I don't take calls past 4:30. Well, at least in my business, now this is one of those that is a little exhausting, but yes, I work across many time zones. So 4:30 where? Because if you're quitting 4:30 in Florida, like your friends in California just came back from lunch. So, I mean, you have to at least, especially if you're working for a large company, you have to know that you may have your boundaries, but that doesn't coincide with how the natural course of business goes.
No. Well, then too, it depends on what type of industry you're in and what you're doing. Yeah, but 100%, generally speaking, across the board, any industry, any business, if you are high enough up the ladder, shit can pop off at any time. If you want the salary, you have to have the title. And if you want that title, if you have that title, you have to put out fires. So, I mean, there's always a little bit of give and take, but a lot of it comes down to your perspective and your management and your goals and your mindset. You know what I mean? Like you can still have boundaries, but you have to be willing to kind of escape outside of those boundaries sometimes to succeed and thrive and flourish. And then if you're the only one that answers in the middle of the night when everything's burning to the ground, then there again, like you're a go-to, you are a problem solver. That's another,
you're reliable.
You're reliable, you're trustworthy, you're in it for the cause, the greater good of the company and the employees. And just all of it, there's just a lot of good that can come from working harder.
Exactly.
I hate to say it's generational, but there is a lot of gap in generation and mindset too. But it's a coaching. Like anybody can be coached through and anybody can learn.
Well, and anybody can be dependable. Like even dependability, trustworthy, being that rock solid person, like that is so valuable. I've worked with people that are top of their field, absolutely ace, know everything, savant-like genius, right? But they're so damn flaky. You can't ever get a hold of them. You can't ever get an answer. You can't any of that. Like just being dependable is also one of the biggest things that you can do. And if you're quietly quitting, you're not being dependable.
No.
At all.
Not at all. No.
Just a secret. You're not being a secret. You're not being dependable. You're being Yeah. Just,
You're being dumb.
yeah. You're being dumb. Yeah, I'm being dumb.
Point blank. Like,
hey. But I mean, really, but like, that is what career suicide really looks like. And people are like, oh, I just want to make sure that my career is not suicide by career. Okay, great.
mm-hmm.
But like you said just a minute ago, as you get higher up the food chain, it is more about, and I actually had a coach that put this beautifully one time. He's like, it's more about harmony than balance. Because balance, again, it's that stagnation. It's that nothing moves or it falls over, right? And harmony is that there's ebbing and flowing of the time, of the energy, of the output, the input, things like that. And so you actually have, it flows better. Like it just flows better, but you have to know that there's going to be times in the ebb or flow, whichever side you want to look at it, that you're going to feel like, oh my God, when is this going to end? But then you get to that finish line, you get to that go live, you get to that, whatever the deliverable is, and you're finally able to breathe a little bit.
Right. And what a mighty good feeling that is.
Yes,
Being
exactly.
able to take a deep breath and embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So anyway, this is our first edition of the SuiteSpark podcast. Again, coming in, swinging with the quiet quitting, quiet firing, quietly don't stop, just work harder, because no one gives a shit, just work harder. But we're here to help you guys advance your careers, to help you see through the crap into what's really going to help you out. And this is not one of those things that's going to help you out. So #lifehack, this is not it. Like, hard work will always win. Hard work will always be the part that gets you through. And the quiet quit just feels like word salad. It's just word salad for be lazy.
Yes.
Be okay
Get
with
off
being
your ass
lazy.
and just do something.
It's just like word salad for being lazy. So yeah, and then people want to defend it. I love reading the commentary when people want to defend it, and they're like, "No, it's defending my energy." Well, fucking go do yoga for that, dude. Like, Go defend your energy elsewhere.
And my boundaries this and my boundaries that. Nobody's saying you can't have boundaries. Just have a healthy set of boundaries that will still perpetuate your success and your growth and your well-being.
Yeah. Or would you like to put boundaries on your business? Would you like to put boundaries on your budget? Would you like to put boundaries on your bank account? Because that's what you're doing.
And if you're the
I feel like we need to tell the whole story if that's what we're going to do.
Right. And if you're the employer, do you want a pot of minions working for you or with you that are constantly saying, hard stop, I'm done. I'm not going to help you grow your business. So you're not going to help me grow mine. Yeah, no. Don't do it.
Right. Yeah. No, thanks. No, thanks. I wouldn't hire those people. Not at all. So, all right. Thank you guys for joining. We will be back in next week with more awesome business greatness. And if you want to, please subscribe. Hit the like button, subscribe, share if you find value in this. And we will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.